Hello and welcome to this special episode of Business Today. We're in conversation with three industry icons today. I'd like to welcome Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar, Honorary Emeritus, Chairperson of the Governing Council of Marico Innovation Foundation and the Jury Chair. With him, Mr. Harsh Mariwala, Founder of Marico Innovation Foundation and Chairman of Marico Limited. Along with them, we also have Mr. Amit Chandra, Honorary Chairperson and Governing Council, Marico Innovation Foundation and Chairperson, Bain Capital India Office. We're here to discuss a very extensive and timely report that the Innovation Foundation has gone through the process of creating. This is a playbook that comes at the end of a year-long exercise of mapping and of insights coming through the entire industry related to plastics, recycling, and undertaken in collaboration with Praxis and IISC. This is the first of its kind innovation playbook in response to the rising global plastics challenge. So let's dive in and really understand the problem, because we know it exists, but how large is it, Mr. Mariwala, and what are we really contending with here?
So I think I don't need to say how important it is, because whenever I speak at any event, and we use a lot of plastics, you parachute, Risofola, I think the most asked question is, why are you using plastics? I mean, I wish there were alternatives to use plastics, because plastics is the cheapest and it's the most convenient packaging material. But I think the plastics after usage, it has to be managed in the right way. I think that's where the challenge comes in. If it is not managed in the right way, it has a huge impact on the environment. I don't have exact figure of how large, but all I can say is very, very large. It is impacting all of us. It is there in each and every city, town, landfills. So I think this is something which the time has come where all the stakeholders, whether it is the consumers, your own employees, the society, the government, they are all aware that this has to be managed in such a way that it actually reduces its negative impact on the environment. But I think Dr. Mashelkar may be able to add much more to this subject.
Oh yes, you know, we are talking about something like 300 million tons of plastics being used. That's huge.
Used, and I read in the report, I think it's single digits, or just about, is it 9% or 10% that's actually recycled?
That's correct. That's correct. So very small proportion is recycled. A lot of it ends up in landfills, in the sea, and so on and so forth. So the damage is really enormous. On the other hand, because it is so affordable and it is so widespread, you cannot say no plastic, all right? We have to say how we reduce it, but most importantly, how do we reuse it and recycle it, all right? So it's a combination of reuse, recycle, reimagine, as a matter of fact, is basic huge, and that is where technology plays a role, innovation plays a role, public policy plays a role. In fact, I would say 4 factors will play a role. One is social engagement, second is technology, third is economics, because it has to be viable, and finally public policy. I would put it this way. It's a combination of these that we'll have to work out.
Yeah. So Aabha, let me just add to what Dr. Mashelkar and Harsh said and dimensionalize the problem as well as the opportunity for you. Just the amount of plastics in our landfills in India alone is about 2 million kilotons. And that is growing at a high single-digit rate every year.
But has nothing been done till now to address this? Because that number is mind-boggling.
We have just started making a dent in this, which is why we thought it's so important to come up with this report. But that's a staggering number. To put that in context of commercial value, because sometimes we don't understand volume and we understand value. We consume as a nation about somewhere between 35 and 45 billion dollars of plastic annually, okay, and that's growing also at close to high single digit every year. And as Dr. Mashelkar rightly put it, the recycling component of that is only single digit. So we are barely
touching,
recycling any amount, okay? And so this problem is actually compounding. And what this means, just so we can all understand it, the lifetime value of a plastic that goes into the ground is about 10 times the value of the original product, be it because of environmental concerns, be it because of the landfill management costs, or be it the health concerns that all of us feel sitting in Delhi and doing this interview. I think all of you understand that better than people, for example, in Bombay.
Sure.
So this is a problem that potentially is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, which is why it's very important for us as society, as government, as companies and as consumers to actually address it, and it creates a massive opportunity for entrepreneurs.
Massive opportunity for entrepreneurs, and I know that you've taken a close look at the kind of innovations happening in the place. I guess I want to understand, what's the kind of scale that's possible, or the fact that we also need to adapt some of these solutions. How do we get some of these solutions into the mainstream, whether it be government, whether it be society, get that adoption happening at a much faster pace?
So you're absolutely right. Ultimately, the objective of coming out with this report is not just to read it, but to have an impact. And I think our larger challenge will be how do we reduce this burden of plastics on the environment by encouraging reuse, recycle, and replace plastics. And we have identified 15 innovations which are identified through this route, and we strongly believe that if these innovations are commercialized, they are leveraged, there will be an impact. But it will be a journey. It cannot be addressed overnight. But that's what we plan doing in terms of using this report and the findings of this report to convince all the stakeholders how can we help in reducing this menace of plastics.
So give us a couple of examples, Mr. Mariwala, in terms of the kind of innovations we're looking at.
They span the entire range. For example, sorting is a big issue, right? Because plastics gets mixed. Then automating that particular process. First, it can reduce the cost and also speed up and get it very accurate. So there is AI-based, artificial intelligence-based sorting. There is a startup. Look at material to material sort of transfer, replacement of one material by the other. For example, bioplastics, which can degrade much faster and better. There are innovations of that. Then the route planning and optimization, right from sorting out to collection to aggregation to treatment, etc. That has to be done optimally. So there are innovations of that. Then data analysis and recycling waste management, there are analysis. And then modern technologies, whether it is advanced automation, artificial intelligence, using sensors, blockchain, for example, traceability, etc. So there are a whole range of technologies and sorts of innovations, and they are not just technological innovation. They are business model innovation, system delivery innovation, workflow innovation, and policy innovation has to be combined with it.
So Aabha, as Harsh rightly pointed out, what we've done in the report is highlight 15 really interesting innovators who potentially could be disruptors in this space. But I think, again, as Dr. Mashelkar, provided a framework, even before we get into these innovators, we need to think about what will be the enabling framework for disruption to happen. And I think what's happening, for example, in the EV system is a good framework. This will have to happen if three things come together. Policy changes, innovators, responding to those policy changes, and consumers changing behavior. All three things will have to go hand in hand for this, disruption to become, a reality in front of us. So first of all, I think, we will need the government to start nudging. We will need to think about what many other governments have started doing, introduce things like landfill tax, Why should it be completely free for everyone to go and create dumps which are taller than the Qutub Minar?
Sure.
It should not be
Sure.
possible. The moment you do that, it becomes cheaper to recycle than it currently is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Secondly, cities which actually want to participate more actively in Swachh Bharat
Yeah.
should actually encourage segregation at source and reduction of, dumping of garbage by actually levying some kind of, tax on consumers
Yeah,
for how
yeah.
much they dump. So I think that is the second policy kind of change. And third, which is the other thing we have seen globally, is mandating standards for how much recycling is there in your plastic usage. So those are the kind of policy shifts which we have seen happen globally and which have been very successful. At the consumer end, I think there's much more greater education
Yeah.
on behavior, which I think ultimately companies will respond to. And then at the company end, we've actually listed a number of companies already beginning to change
Okay.
how they do business, be it reducing the amount of plastics, redesigning their products. Yesterday I flew an airline which, completely has replaced plastic with, compostable material in their flights. Yesterday I attended a event of the Madhya Pradesh government where the entire cutlery was basically degradable.
Sure.
So I think governments, consumers, companies all have to get together to do this.
Yeah. I will add on to what you're saying by giving you a specific example on how it can work. Reliance, for example, they are the biggest producers of polyethylene terephthalate in the world.
Sure.
All right, but they have now talked about integrating circular economy into it. So how do they do that? For example, the recycled staple fiber. There is a plant that they have created in Andhra Pradesh, and the fiber that comes out of it actually is now used by Raymond to create sort of new forms of textile and clothing and so on. So you can see end to end. You produce it, then you recycle it, and you create value-added product out of it.
Got it.
So it makes, like I said, economic sense by using technology, but the own driver.
Absolutely. I think what's really interesting, and some of these examples are fantastic, and it shows that real work is being done. But what's interesting here is it's still coming from a certain company or an individual, and for it to be systemic, I think all of this needs to come together, because we know that, for example, there was this huge Clean Up India agenda or mandate or narrative that was created, but I'm not sure we're really seeing, a very large impact of that on ground. I mean, waste is a huge problem in the country today. Adding to that a further layer of separating plastics, and to implement that, I'm sure is a formidable challenge.
Yeah.
I would say what we need is enablers which make it much easier. I mean, for example, Dr. Mashelkar talked about one very interesting company which has been showcased in there, which actually, really fits in wonderfully into the Atmanirbhar Bharat theme, because it's a AI-based robotic sorting engine,
Okay.
which
that's
actually can
interesting.
sort 6 tons an hour of waste and do it at 1/3 the cost of manual sorting. And it's half the cost of any international machine. Now imagine putting up, now this is completely scalable. Imagine putting up hundreds, if not thousands of these kind of machines across all our metropolitan cities or even our tier 2 cities, right? Now, when you do things like this, you can actually enable change at scale that you've never imagined before.
Absolutely.
Because 94% of our sorting is manual.
Yes.
94%.
Yes.
Manual sorting is not scalable. So we need to enable things by making them feasible.
Have you had dialogue or conversations on this, with the decision makers or the people in the government?
We thought we will release the report first, because it's a comprehensive report covering all aspects.
Sure.
So there's reduce, reuse, recycle plastics. And once the report is ready, then we will have a separate set of interventions with different stakeholders. For example, we will have one set of interventions with the with the center, the state level, municipal corporations, so all the government regulatory bodies. The other set of interventions will be with users of plastics, you know, FMCG companies, other users who are using plastics, and we will show them through these innovations why they should be using this. If there is some mindset issue, if they have, how can we shift that mindset? So I think that will be another set of interventions. The third will be with the consumers also, you know. And we've seen in certain towns like the Nilgiris district, they have banned the usage of plastic. So if you go to Nilgiris today, you will not get any bottled mineral water in plastics. Now, these are the kind of things which, and in addition to that, there are so many other innovations which are listed there in terms of alternative usage of plastics, alternatives to plastic like bamboo recycled, or using the recycled plastics for making pallets which can be used in the building industry. So there are multiple uses of plastics, and we have identified innovators who are already doing that. So can these bricks made out of plastics, recycled plastics, can be used in building industry, construction industry? I think these are the kind of things we need to bring in awareness. But to me, the timing is very good, because I think everyone wants to resolve this issue, and there is enough pressure from all the stakeholders. So I personally think that because of this, I think we are sitting at the right time in terms of leveraging these innovations, and we believe that we will be able to make an impact, but it will need concerted efforts. And this is, as I said, just the beginning of MIF's journey in this area, but a larger part MIF wants to play will be actually making an impact.
Absolutely.
So Aabha, I'll just add to what Harsh said. You know, the interesting thing is that people always think that sometimes these disruptions are expensive. They come at a cost. They don't, and that's part of what this report actually highlights.
And you dispel that the minute you explain the cost with the robots, because I would have asked.
And you know, and your question is actually a very interesting question, because two of the examples he cited, bricks and roads, right? Now, India is actually one of the top 2 countries in the world which is undertaking still a gigantic construction program, be it roads or be it housing, at unprecedented scale, right? So we need both asphalt roads and we need a lot of housing. And what's a big problem? Plastics can actually be converted into a huge opportunity. We highlight a company called KK Plastics, where you can actually, which has a patented technology to take plastic chips, put it into asphalt roads, cut the cost of making roads by 10,000 rupees a kilometer, and improve the tensile strength of roads. Now, this is just one example, and the objective of the report is to showcase this to, you know, policymakers, so that they can maybe mandate that some part of roads should be built using this, but maybe other innovators will think about which other building materials they can basically embed plastics in. Similarly for bricks. And imagine, you know, construction companies selling this as, you know, more environmentally friendly, higher quality. And I think that's part of what our job is, to show what the art of the possible is.
And I think also with stakeholders like yourself backing the change, it will make a considerable difference. I mean, the report in itself is 150 odd pages and extremely in-depth, going into every aspect of the chain and the circularity here.
No, I just wanted to say we have done it before, we have to do it again.
Yes.
Simple. Swachh Bharat mission, for example.
Right.
We set a target and said we'll make the country open defecation free.
Yes.
And we did it.
Yes.
And if you see, it was not about building toilets, it was about using toilets. And that meant change of social behavior. All right. I myself chaired the Swachh Bharat Technology Expert Committee, Standing Committee. And we have seen what difference it is. This is Swachh Bharat, this is Clean India. This is a new sort of mission. And I would say it's not just the top down where the government pushes it, it has to be also bottom up. And there are examples after examples where wards have become zero garbage by a combination of social engagement, technology, policy and participation. I think we have to move it in both ways.
I think it also creates a path perhaps for consumers to understand how they can participate. Consumers and young businesses that may want to participate but are not sure how. They're not sure of the avenues, or they don't have easy access to tools or to resources to understand how they can partake in what you call the circularity of the system. Share with us, you've shared so many insights, but some of the other findings from the report that you feel perhaps would be interesting to our audience.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, no, I think, look, the big finding, of course, is that this is a huge problem.
Yes, yeah.
The other big finding is that it's not just a problem, but it is filled with opportunity.
Right.
And if I was to hazard a guess, I would say that, and there's a very interesting chart in there which shows that it's completely neglected opportunity. The amount of capital which venture capitalists, and I come from the private equity industry, have put to back solutions for this is less than $20 million over the last 2 years. The top 10 sectors all get more than $500 million. So it's a completely neglected opportunity.
Thank you. I mean, that really puts it into perspective for us, I think. Yeah.
So just think about this, right? What creates the perfect, disruption platform? Huge problem, complete neglection, right? And that is what makes this a fascinating place to do business in. And I think that's why I think we've kind of taken the opportunity to shine a big torchlight on it.
How long did it take to create the report and to do this research?
1 year we engaged. I must compliment our knowledge partners. They took great pains, and at various interventions we had joint discussions with us in terms of fine-tuning the report and making it far more, I would say, reader-friendly, something where people can relate to, and how can you create that larger impact, and what can each stakeholder do?
Yeah.
And I think with the increasing shift also towards ESG compliance,
Yes.
this will have a lot of takers.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. We wanted to make sure this is an actionable report.
Yeah.
That this is not a theoretical report. And we all know plastics exists as a problem, but what can we do about it?
Exactly.
Each stakeholder. So I think that you'll find that it's divided into a mechanism in which each person can read and say, okay, this is what I can take away from it.
Okay, great. If somebody watching today wanted to sort of find out more, what could they do at an individual or sort of SME level? How could they participate?
So I think at one level, if you can publicize, and we can share the copy of the report, it's nothing secret. The whole report, whoever wants to access, I think we can give you a link and you can flash it on the screen, and they can write to us and we can email them the report virtually.
Sure.
So I think that itself will just spread the awareness. Somebody may pick up one part, somebody may pick up some other part, but it is so comprehensive, the report, that I think depending on the reader, they may find certain aspects of the report where they relate to or they can leverage. So I think the best thing is for us to share the report with whoever is interested in studying this subject.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
If I can just add, I think the report, this is Marico Innovation
Yes.
Foundation. Innovation in capital letters. Innovation is all about doing it differently to make a difference. We show how differently we can do things to make a big, big difference. And the way it has been written, the way the narrative has been sort of put up, in one sitting you can finish the whole report, by the way, although you might say it is 120-page report. And it becomes inspiring for people in the technology innovation area, policy space, consumer, customer, creating awareness, etc. There are multiple objectives that this inspiring report can create. I would say that I've been chairman of Marico Innovation Foundation for 18 years. This young man has taken over now. But in these 18 years, this has been one of the most satisfying thing that I feel I have participated in.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And I also do see a lot of corporates, as you also mentioned, that are beginning to really be part of this in a meaningful way and doing their bit for the cities or ecosystems that they're part of. Let's hope that we see a lot more of that as we go ahead. Thank you all for your time today, and all the best with this mission. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.